Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Studio Wesley Live, our weekly hangout for community and connection. I'm Derrick Scott III, hanging out. We've got a great panel tonight. We're going to have a really great hangout tonight. Great show. So let's start. Just make sure you know who all is on the panel because somebody's new tonight. I'm really excited that they're joining us. But we're going to start with Allison. Allison, how are you doing? And since we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, I'd love to know your favorite Thanksgiving side.
I'm doing okay. I've had like kind of a productive but also restful weekend, and it was kind of nice. I needed that before the holidays. I am a mac and cheese girly. I make the mac and cheese. I bring the mac and cheese. I've worked on my recipe for quite some time now, and it is my favorite. I love mac and cheese.
I just need to know, Allison, how many types of cheese do you put in your mac and cheese?
It depends on who I'm making it for. So either one or two.
Okay.
It's either white cheddar or white cheddar and pepper jack. It depends on who I'm making it for. But I do like other things for flavors. Like I caramelize the onions and things like that before I put it in.
Why are we putting onions in mac and cheese? Help me understand.
People put like powdered onion in mac and cheese. I just put like raw onion and, well, not raw, I cook it, but I put like actual onions and powdered onion.
We are moving on. That is not even true, Allison. You are lying to me right now.
It is so true and it's so good.
It is not good. There is no. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say right now. I was really excited about the pepper jack cheese like that. I was excited about you put onions in your mac and cheese.
I do.
What are we doing?
I love it, Derrick.
Okay, we need to move on. I'm John. Welcome to Studio Wesley Live. I think it's your first time on the panel for Studio Wesley Live. Yes?
It is my first time, yes.
Oh my God. And I'm still recovering from Allison's confession a moment ago. So give me a little bit. I need some space here, but we're going to get it. John, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm excited that you've got that UCF banner in the background. I know you wanted me to give attention to that. So here we are. So John, welcome to Studio Wesley Live panel. So excited that you're with us. What is your favorite Thanksgiving Day side? And please don't say mac and cheese with onions in it, because I don't know if I could handle it right now.
Well, first off, I would not say that my favorite number one side dish is mac and cheese with onions, but I guess I do want to slightly defend that a little because it does sound really cool and really good. So that's cool. And then my favorite side probably, it really depends on like who's bringing what or who's making what. Yeah. But I would say that I really do like a good sweet potato casserole. I think those are super good, and it's just like you can't really go wrong with that unless you're somebody that doesn't like sweet potatoes. But that is a whole different conversation.
Do you put nuts on your sweet potato casserole?
I usually don't make it, but I guess if they're on it, I'll eat them. But like sometimes, do you guys know what a praline cookie is? Like from New Orleans. So I've had ones before where whoever's making it, like, you know how they sometimes will put like marshmallows on the top. Instead of that marshmallows that will have like the praline sort of like caramel sugary cookie topping on top instead of marshmallows on top, and it's absolutely delicious. So
gotcha.
That's probably my favorite.
So John, when the McClellans invite me over for Thanksgiving dinner, which is super possible, I just want to be clear. I don't want any nuts on my sweet potato casserole at all. Not that it's got to be about me. I'll just skip that side. I'm happy to just skip. But if it's really important that I like scoop that onto my plate, let's not do that. Let's not put onions in our mac and cheese, and let's not put any kind of nuts on top of our sweet potato casserole. Okay.
Thanks for clarification.
I'm so glad you're here. Oh man, super cool. Neil, how's it? And what's your favorite Thanksgiving side? And please, no more. Let's not give me any more pain, because I've experienced it twice now.
I'll do my best not to. I am at the end of a very busy week. Manifest dropped the holiday menu this week, sort of soft launching it, and it was very successful. But there are also things happening downtown, so we were rather busy. My favorite Thanksgiving side is, I don't know if this is like It's not that weird, really. I just really like a good, like, kind of buttered corn on the cob. Like, we did that, like, relatively consistently for a while. Like, don't always have it every year, and it's not always on the cob. Sometimes it's just, buttered corn kernels. But yeah, I mean, I'm a real sucker for corn. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. I don't have it a lot, but when I do, it's like the greatest thing in the world. So that's mine. I hope that doesn't cause you any more pain. Because you've clutched your pearls already so much in the last 5 minutes that you can't do much more.
I know. Just I don't have a necklace anymore because all of the I will say I'm kind of neutral. I'm neutral on the corn on the cob. I will say I have respect for it because if we're going to talk about like getting close to an authentic Thanksgiving meal, corn on the cob is getting real close to authenticity of like at least how we got Thanksgiving. So I'm neutral. That's helping. Okay. And I really do appreciate everybody's contributions to their favorite Thanksgiving Day side. I also know that that's a question I
Don't
probably should
appreciate
never.
mine.
I just need to not ask that question again because it puts us in this mode where I'm like, I don't even know how to like lead anymore. But I should probably share one that I'm in Portland this evening. So that's really great. But my favorite Thanksgiving side has to be stuffing. Like I really like stuffing dressing. Like in fact, my family has a tradition of making oyster dressing. And it is so good, y'all. Like it is so good. The Lang family oyster dressing. Glory be to God on high. So good. So now that we've all introduced ourselves and we're in the space, let's go to highlight of the week. Let's go. So highlight of the week is our regular segment where each member of the panel is going to share something that they want to make sure that the Studio Wesley universe knows that happens somewhere in the world, from neighborhoods to nations. We're going to start with Neil tonight. Neil, give us your highlight of this week.
So, everyone who has watched this show knows that I typically do local things to Jacksonville. Tonight, I am breaking my rule because I watched an interview and read an article that changed everything I thought I knew about tea. And I'm a self-professed like tea drinker, tea enjoyer. Turns out I know nothing, Jon Snow. All right. So I watched an interview from this woman who named Henrietta Lovell, who owns a tea company called Rare Tea Company. And she sells on her website rare, ethically sourced teas. And it's just fantastic. I mean, like she says exactly where it comes from, and explains like the importance of why like these teas matter. And also they're not crazy expensive either. Like they're not much more than buying tea from like a store. And I'll definitely be talking more about her later. But Derrick, one thing you should know is I know you're a big fan of English afternoon tea, and she does have an English afternoon blend on her website. It's all loose leaf stuff, no bags, and I'll explain why bags suck later, but it's good stuff. I'll send you a link.
Wow, send me a link because not everybody even thinks English afternoon tea exists, including some of my colleagues and friends who live in the UK. They're like, what is English afternoon tea?
I mean, Henrietta is British, so like, if anyone knows, it's her.
Wow. Neil, I'm excited that we get to hear a little bit more about this highlight. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it now, but I thank you for that highlight. I am excited about the rare tea conversation. So thanks, Neil. John, what is your highlight of this week?
So my highlight of the week is I saw an article yesterday that there was a new type of snake discovered, and that's not what it is. I'm not like, yay, snakes. I'm not the hugest snake fan, but basically there's a new snake discovered in an island off the coast of India, and they named it after Steve Irwin. And I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty sick. I don't know like everything in the world about Steve Irwin, but from what I could tell, he was a very great individual that was super passionate about the conservation of the earth and its many creatures. And so I just think that's super cool that they named one of those creatures that they had just discovered after the crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin.
So what did they name? What is the name of the of the species.
So the scientific name of it, which is like the Latin,
I guess.
the words that are hard to pronounce.
Yep.
But it's called the Lycodon irwini. And so it's like two words, but the second word is Irwin with an I at the end, basically.
Oh,
So,
that's great. So, John,
and it's non-venomous too. It's non-venomous.
Oh, that's important. Okay, so Steve Irwin, and again, your generation's just too young, but Steve Irwin was this great conservationist and had this really, really cool show that I'd never watched but knew about. And what's really important to me about Steve is that he's an Aussie. And I just think Australians are just a better type of human. I do. Like, that's just my bias. Australians are just better humans in general.
Derrick, I'll have you know that I'm not much older than John, but like I'm a little older than John. I watched Steve Irwin the Crocodile like religiously for a time of my life. All right. He was one of my heroes when I was little, and I was very, very sad when I learned of his passing. I was, as the kids say, bummed out. All right. Like, so don't be casting aspersions on people too young to know about Steve Irwin, because I had some of that stuff on like VHS for a little while. All right. Like,
I was also about to throw down about this. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I know that I am the second oldest on this stream right now. However, that made me feel ancient, Derrick.
I mean, I hope that if people know about Steve Irwin, they will give their tributes in the chat, okay? Like in the comments, because I think it's important. I just assumed that y'all were like, Steve Irwin sounds like a nice guy. I was like, y'all don't even know. You kids don't even know. But John, this is why the highlight of the week is such a big deal, because it opens up these conversations of like, oh no, I used to watch Steve Irwin, and it's like, Derrick, you didn't actually watch Steve Irwin, you just liked him because he's an Australian. It's like, yes, that's exactly it. And it's just beautiful. So, John, I really appreciate you bringing that highlight. And if you recall, the highlights of the week are always going to be available for you to check out on Monday on Instagram. Thank you, Allison, who always posts those both in our Instagram page and in our link tree. So you're able to explore all of this, explore Irwini. I think is probably not the best pronunciation, but I got close. So John, thank you so much for sharing that highlight. Allison, what's your highlight this week?
I'm so excited. My highlight this week is they released the trailer for the Sunrise on the Reaping movie, which is the second prequel to the Hunger Games series. I'm a huge reader as an adult, but I actually didn't start reading until I was in like high school. But the Hunger Games was the one book series pre-high school that I read. I remember being a middle schooler, like sitting in the bleachers crying over the deaths of these children in these books. Like, I am so attached to this series. So when she started writing prequels, it was the best thing that's ever happened to adult Allison. And they released the trailer and it's beautiful. And I'm just so excited. And I've been living off that for the last few days.
Wow. Allison, I'm not going to lie. I need to see the first half of the prequel because I haven't seen it. And so we can put that on the list of things I am actually promising to do before the end of this calendar year. I will have watched the first half of that Hunger Games prequel because I definitely haven't done that.
Yeah, it's not a half. They're two different prequels.
Oh, okay. So this is what am I promising?
Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is what you're promising right now to watch. Okay. And that's the first prequel, and then they made this one. And they're like 30 years apart.
Hold me accountable. I will have watched. We will not roll into a Studio Wesley Live in 2026 without me watching that movie. I will do it because I made a similar promise to watch Superman. And on the way to Portland, what did I do, friends? What did I do? I watched Superman. I did. And then I watched 2 episodes of Golden Girls because, of course. Okay. Allison, thank you for that highlight. I'm super stoked. I hope that we're all getting ready. When does it come out? When does the Song of the Reaping, or what is it?
Sunrise on the Reaping comes out. They gave us a teaser trailer a whole year before it comes out, so it's next November.
That's how it works. That's how they tease us like a year out so we can plan our lives. Like,
I saw a comment that was like, "This looks finished to me. Release it now."
I mean, it is finished, but they just have to hold it for a year because we're not ready. I'm ready. We're not. We're collectively.
That's what I'm saying here. I'm ready.
I get it. We're just not. So that actually takes me into my highlight for this week, if that's cool. So I've waited, and we've all waited a year for Wicked for Good, the second act of this incredible musical, to come out. And so I did this week actually, because I got to see it on the 17th, Monday night. I got to do a pre-screening of Wicked for Good. Oh man. And then I saw it again Thursday evening. It officially released on Friday. And based on current sort of data, it raked in millions. I need to go back and look at how many. It's in the article that's going to be posted, but it raked in millions. And here's the thing, the reason why I wanted to bring it up. One, I want to bring up Wicked for Good, that it's doing good at the box office because, I'm out here for Wicked, and I'm out here to rep Wicked. I'm out here to like make sure people understand how great this musical is and how great it is that we have it in movie form. And I just want to address the fact that there are a lot of bad reviews about Wicked for Good. And I want to take these people seriously. I do. I really do. But I'm not sure they understand the genre. Like, Wicked for Good is a very specific genre of movie. It's the musical movie. And I think we may have talked about this before in Studio Wesley Live, but I know I've talked about it in Studio Wesley Spaces, like in an intern gathering or something. The genre of movie musical is very specific. And I just think some people are out here showing that they don't know what that genre is by the bad reviews that they've given. You get to have your bad review. That's fine. Just like I don't like onions in my mac and cheese. That doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that I don't know anything about onions in my mac and cheese.
Derrick,
these reviewers are out here saying, I know nothing about the movie musical. I don't know anything about it.
Derrick, I've put together why you don't like onions, and it just explains why you don't really age and why you like Midnight Mass. It's because you're a vampire. It's onions and garlic. And some people can't tell the difference between onions and garlic. You know what I mean? It happens, even though they're two wildly different vegetables. And
since I'm a United Methodist, everybody's welcome at the table, including vampires, I guess. But back to my highlight, and thank you for that, Neil. Back to my highlight. I hope that people are going to go see Wicked for Good because it really is a very well done movie musical. Now, if it was a main stage, we'd be having a different kind of conversation. If it was just a narrative movie, like most movies are, then we might be having some conversations. But as a movie musical, top notch. And at the very least, people are paying money to see this thing, guys. So I don't know. Seems like it actually is doing pretty good, but we'll see what happens. So those were the highlights of the week. Again, you can catch all of our highlights on Instagram and in our link tree tomorrow. Really, really great segment. But I think now we've got an announcement. So Allison, I do think you are the person who's giving us announcements tonight.
Yeah, I just have a couple, both surrounding the same thing. So we will have community group tonight at 6:45. I promise I'll be able to. Actually, I'm not making that promise. I still might not be able to speak. 6:45 through Zoom. We'd love to have you join us if you would like to come. If you've never jumped into that space before, just send us a DM and we can tell you how to get there. And then the other part of that is we will not have community group next week, just following Thanksgiving. People are traveling, all the things are happening. So we are taking the week off, but we hope to see you tonight, and then we'll see you 2 weeks after that.
Solid. And I'm going to be in community group. I'm excited to share some stuff from my heart in that space as well. So going to look at Colossians 1 tonight. I'm excited about what we might get from that. So thank you, Allison, for that announcement. And we're having a really great live tonight. We're going to go into one of our recurring segments now, Words from the World. Words from the World is one of our recurring segments where one of the members of our panel brings something to us that we want to have a conversation about, something happening out in the world that really requires us to think deeply, have some conversations that really invite us into different things happening across the planet. And Neil tonight is going to bring us our word from the world. So Neil, take it away.
Thank you, Derrick. So as I said earlier, I am going to be talking about Rare Tea Company again. And really this is it's a little bit less about the company and a little bit more about the things I've learned about the importance of ethical consumption of tea. Because we've talked a lot about it over the, how last, I don't know, however many years now about coffee, right? A lot of like local coffee shops and like coffee nerds, I mean, listen, I'm also a nerd. That is not a derogatory statement. I've been speaking a lot about the importance of knowing where your coffee comes from, right? And like who it supports and whatnot. And this interview that I watched, as well as the article that everyone will have access to later from Henrietta Lovell, who is the owner of Rare Tea Company. She is, I think she founded it about 2004. So she's been doing it, about 20 years now, 21 years, give or take. And like she opened my eyes to like some facts about tea that I did not know. For example, the country of Malawi, their entire economy is based on tea. And in the 1970s, they could sell a kilo of tea for, what was it, $20? Yeah, it was about $20 per kilogram in the 70s, which in today's money is about $120. Now, in 2025, they don't even get $1. Like it's less than $1 for a kilo of tea because of how saturated the market for tea is, with a bunch of, frankly, shit teas. A lot of the things that we think of as tea that are sold in these little sachets and these little packets are really just like tea dust. It's like, and that's why they have these long infusion times. But like when you go on her website, you see like all of her teas have like very short, like 20-second infusions, and you can re-infuse them over and over again instead of a one-time use. She talks about why tea bags suck, because in order to make them, you need all sorts of like chemicals and solvents and stuff. And she makes this point where she says, listen, if you don't think the bag has a flavor, take out all the tea, brew the bag, drink the water. You'll notice that it has a taste to it. But another important thing, and this is, important for me as a bartender to discuss, is, having non-alcoholic options. She actually supplies tea for a lot of very important restaurants in the world, such as Noma, Alain Ducasse, Hawksmoor, the British Steakhouse in London that my friend James worked at. Well, he worked at the New York one, but same vibe. And she has a big focus on like cold brew teas. Like aside from hot brew teas, like the insistence of cold brew teas and putting them in wine glasses and pairing them with dishes and dinner. And she's like, it looks elegant and it can, in a lot of ways, like taste like wine, or, because it has a tannic quality to it, right? And just to prove a point here, I'm gonna turn on my little lamp. I have my two little tasting glasses here, right? One of these has a Spanish sherry wine in it. The other one has tea, right? I don't know if any of y'all can guess which one is which, but I'm not even going to say at the moment. Like all that matters is that each of these look so perfectly elegant in these, right? And it's an important thing because, we always talk about like, NA options, right? Like Derrick said a couple weeks ago, only 54% of adults like drink regularly, which is the lowest it's been since 1939. And bars everywhere have had like, mocktail options on their menus, right? Or like kombuchas and stuff, right? Those are like all really big. They're NA spirits, but tea has been around for forever and is considerably cheaper than any of these other things. And, going back to like Rare Tea, and she's not the only company that does it. There are a handful of other companies that supply tea like this, but like, to know exactly where your tea comes from, to see who it supports, right? Because the life expectancy in a lot of these countries for these farmers who are picking tea is like their early 40s. Like they are not expected to live very long. And going back to Malawi, when I said they get less than $1 for a kilogram of tea, that basically means that the farmers can only afford one meal a day. Whereas like previously, it's like they could be obviously like be more well fed because of it. And something Henrietta said is like, it doesn't matter how you enjoy your tea. If you want to put sugar or milk in it, or just drink it as is, if you want to drink it iced or, hot or whatever, enjoy it however you want, but make sure you know where it comes from and who it supports, because so many of these companies and conglomerations, like their only thing is like profit. Right. And if they're buying a kilogram of tea for less than $1 and then putting it in packets and, selling you like 50 packets or whatever for $10, you know what I mean? Like that is a ridiculous profit margin there. And like I said, her website, like you can buy these loose leaf cans or tins or just bags. and multiple steeps out of them, and it's just an important thing, and it doesn't really cost you that much more than buying a pack of Twinings or some other company in the store. But also, I just want to know what y'all think about it. Derrick, I know you're, like I was mentioned earlier, I know you're also a tea enjoyer. Allison, John, I don't know if y'all enjoy tea the same way like I do, or the way Derrick does, but I just think it's an important thing to bring up because I was totally unaware about all this. I've been hearing about coffee and, and other like businesses and like food for forever now, but I hadn't really considered that the world of tea could be the same in the sense of like, being ethically consumed about it.
I have so many thoughts right now, like so many things that I want to say, but I'm curious, John, Allison, if y'all have any responses to this word that Neil just brought to us. So yeah, what are y'all thinking?
I'm excited. I love tea. I am a big tea drinker. My favorite part of my morning is when I finally get to my desk with my little cup of tea and I just sit there and I sip it while I check my emails. Like that's my morning routine. And it's like one of the most centering parts of my morning. And so I love tea. And I was reading through the article, and it's one of those things where like, unless you're like researching it or you're actively in that part of the internet, like it's not something that you're going to know about. And so I appreciate like you bringing this to the table, Neil, because I'm definitely interested in like looking more into the company, and I'd love to know your thoughts on the tea itself once you're drinking it actively. But I definitely want to look into it a little more. I feel like we have a tendency to do what's easy. And so it's like, let's grab this box of tea off the grocery shelf and here it is. And so I love when we're like, hey, this might not be as easy for you to get, but also it's so much better for everything and everyone around us. Because I mean, it goes down to like the way we're growing it and the people who are working there. And like there's just so many pieces that I don't think we always consider when and some people do. Some people are very big into like considering where their stuff comes from. I say stuff because it's not just food or tea, right? But not everybody is. And so I appreciate when these things are like put in front of my mind of like, oh, I should look more into that. And I should probably think about like those choices I'm making, since I am someone who does consume a lot of tea.
And especially when it doesn't cost you much more, because a lot of times, like we always talk about, like there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. And, sometimes the price of trying to be ethical is having to pay more money because, that's like these larger corporations can afford to charge you less for things because, like their margins are very different. But tea is an easy thing to just like, oh, I can spend and in the article, she says it's not, pounds per cup, it's pence per cup, right? It's a few cents more per cup if you purchase tea like that. I mean, one of the 50-gram tins that I bought, you can buy an equivalent tin from a place like Spice and Tea Exchange, and they'll charge you like $25 depending on what it is. And she has a couple really cool, like her Speedy Breakfast blend, $8. Right, like a really cool single estate is 12. Her chai is like 11. Like it's not much more. It's actually less than in other places.
Well,
I'm not like a huge tea person. I don't drink a lot of tea, to be honest. But I definitely do see like the importance of the ethical consumption of tea, especially after you've explained it pretty well. Especially like whenever you really think about it, it's like these big companies and corporations that own way more than you like realize that they own, and they're over there producing like a way lower quality of tea leaf, and they're stripping all the nutrients out of the soil from their like harmful farming practices, and they're like just kind of leaving it's like strip mining, like they're just kind of leaving the place, taking all the value out of it real quick, is taking it out and doing it for as cheap as they can, and then throwing it in some microplastic chemical filled pouch and selling it to you for something way more than like a crazy percentage markup. Whereas like, but then they have like this lower price, and so that's their edge, theoretically, on like the company that this lady has that's a little bit more expensive, but it's actually way higher quality probably, and it's obviously all ethical practices. And so yeah, whenever I think about that, it's like a trend that can be seen in a ton of other industries. But I think in other industries. At least I'm not like researching into this all the time, but it's like this is a really good example of a lady that's actually doing something about that, and I think it's super cool.
Alice and John, thanks for those contributions. And Neil, I'm just so grateful for this word that you brought. And again, I have so many thoughts. I mean, I think about the ways that like colonialism and capitalism has made tea accessible to a larger number of people. And so like, I got to name that like, there are teas we never would have even been able to taste if it wasn't for these mechanisms. And these mechanisms then take what for some is literally an art form, right? Like, and commoditizes it in such a way that it actually like moves it from being an art form and just a staple. And this is why like coffee, you know, and I don't know if we call it craft coffee. I don't know what we actually call the industry now, but
I think it's craft coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it's the extra effort it takes to know where your tea is coming from. It's the extra effort it takes to know what people group, if at all, are benefiting from us being able to access these teas, right? But I do think it's a word that we have to reckon with in the world we live in right now, that these things really are connected, and sometimes the connection's great, and sometimes the connection actually does cause us to take a pause. Like I'm literally thinking about when I get back home, am I gonna just consume the ginger tea that I'm always buying from the grocery store, or do I want to think a little bit deeper, more intentionally about that? And I'm not going to say too much more because I think it's just going to take us down these different rabbit trails. But I'm really, really grateful that you brought this word to us, Neil. I think this is such a fascinating and important conversation for us to have, both specifically as it relates to tea, and I think the larger conversation about consumption and about the global nature of all of the products that we use. Because eventually we've got to reckon with the fact that we've all got this and what this means. And I think this is hard. This is hard to deal with. But I think if we start with tea, we might begin to open ourselves to the reckoning that might need to take place. So, Neil, thank you. And friends, we will be the link to that article is in the comments, and also we'll be sharing about that word from the world in our social medias as well. So let's just take a quick soul break and we'll be right back. So friends, it's been a really great episode tonight, and I just want to leave you with this one thought. So many Christians around the world today celebrated what is known as Christ the King Sunday, or Reign of Christ Sunday. It's the end of the liturgical year, and I'm not going to nerd out on that as much as I would like to, not going to do it, but essentially it's a Sunday that we acknowledge that the whole of creation is under the lordship of Jesus. And those words might elicit some different responses from you. And I don't mean to trigger tonight. So I'm just going to move to the point that I want to make. I think it's important that in the church, we end our liturgical year with this idea that Christ is King, that Christ reigns. And I think there's a lot of theological significance to it, but I think there's one specific and practical implication of how we end our liturgical year. And I'll share that implication by way of a personal testimony. right now in my life, I'm going through a lot of transitions. There are things that are happening. Some things are in my control, some things are not in my control. And I'm just trying to like hold on to the little bit of hope that I've got, hold on to the things that I know are going to be true about my life and that continue to be true. But I've had some moments of just, deep anxiety. And the other night I was having that moment. In fact, I was sort of woken up out of sleep with anxiety about my future and some of the things that are happening in my life. Friends, I'm okay, by the way. Not a 5 alarm or anything like that. But just kind of going through life, and I'm sure that you know what it's like. Sometimes life is stressful and you have anxiety about it. And as I was sort of trying to calm myself down and go back to sleep, I heard this word, and this is the word that I heard. I believe it was the Holy Spirit, that Jesus is holding me together and that this is not the end of my story. Jesus is holding me together, and this is not the end of my story. And of many things that we are proclaiming on Christ the King Sunday, it's that. We are proclaiming that Jesus is holding our lives, holding our world together, and that the story isn't over. And this is such an important point to hold on to mentally and spiritually and emotionally, because yes, sometimes life can be so rough. And I think about where I was even 20 years ago. I talked about this last week of just like realizing that the semester was not going to end the way that I thought it was going to end. Sometimes relationships don't end the way we think they're going to end. Financial situations, all of it, even health, right? But the confession of Christ the King Sunday, of many confessions, is simply this: that Jesus is going to hold my life together, and that what I'm experiencing right now is not the end of my story. And so I offer that to all of us tonight in the Studio Wesley universe, that wherever you find yourself, whatever you're going through, even if you're like me, being woken up in the middle of the night because of anxiety, I hope that you'll take this in, drop this into the soup of all the stuff that you're ruminating on. Jesus is holding us together, and this is not the end of our story. Whether you celebrated Christ the King Sunday or not, I hope that you would take that in, that you would consider that somehow, some way, all things are going to work together for our good and God's glory. I hope you'll be encouraged by that tonight, friends. And so with that, I want to thank my panel for being on tonight's Studio Wesley Live. So good to have Allison and Neil, as always. John, we're going to have you back, my guy. We're going to have you back. You contributed, you were in it, and we're so glad to have you. And friends, so glad to have you as well, whether you were with us in the live or watching later on in the week. We will be back next week. I think we'll see. Pay attention, because it is Thanksgiving weekend. But we're going to be here in some way, shape, or form for Studio Wesley Live. And so, friends, join us each week, Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. And remember that you are deeply loved by God, and that nothing could ever separate you from God's love. Friends, have a great night. We'll see you soon.